Hello, Internet, and welcome to The Hair? Interestingly, it's not him saying this line, and I've got with me Matthew Patrick.
Sorry, I'm just confused by the fact that you add the little intonation up at the end, like the hair.
Yes.
Is the name of the paper the hair?
No, it's The Hair. All I'm saying is, for the first time, I'm hearing that line and it's not coming out of your mouth.
That's true. That's pretty
all
well.
it is.
You did a good job.
I'm sitting here with Matthew Patrick, originator of game theory, the film theorist, or the game theorist, sorry.
It's fine. It goes by
Film
many
theorist,
names.
GT Live, food theorist, the style theorist, and now Lorefy, with over 40 million subscribers, 9 billion views across 5 channels. And I just want to begin by saying it's an absolute honor that you're here.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you have been such an influence upon me and all the other kids that are downstairs right now waiting for you. And so I just want to say thank you truly for the work that you've done.
Oh my gosh, it's an honor to be here. Honestly, like the fact that you and so many other people want me here to talk and have a night out together, like I'm really excited about that. So thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you. So the number one thing I'm going to ask is the question on everyone's mind.
Yes.
What do you do now that you're retired?
Oh my gosh, what aren't I doing now that I'm retired? Retirement's great. So first and foremost, I'm spending time with Stephanie and my son Ollie, which has been tremendous. That's great. But beyond that, we've been doing a lot of creative projects that are really satisfying that I think you might be hearing news about coming up in the next month or two, which is really exciting. I can't talk about them because they haven't been announced yet, but I think people are going to be really excited about those. We've been working with Congress to teach them about the creator economy. We've been doing charitable efforts with different organizations, both locally and internationally. I mean, really, for the last year of being retired, we have done so much. And at its core, really, it's gotten me the ability to go back and relax, get time, and learn again, which is so exciting. I'm reading, I'm watching stuff, I'm playing games that I never had the time to before. And so there's been this like creative regeneration in me that has been just tremendous.
I mean, yeah. I'm no MatPat, but I am an engineering student. You can tell my eye bags are there.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I understand. Yeah, I see it.
So I can 100% relate to what you're saying.
No, it's one of those things where those final years up until kind of like the announcement video, I was getting probably on average 4 hours of sleep a night just to kind of juggle everything, maintain everything, and get through just the sheer amount of workload that we were doing. And so now priority one with retirement was making sure that I was trying to undo the damage that I had done to my body through the last 13 years of being online.
Naturally. I mean, it's been a running joke with my friends that, you know, every semester of thermodynamics I take, I lose more of my hair.
Yeah.
But here we are.
I gotta ask, so based on the workload that you have, are you able to crystallize memories?
I mean, I get good grades.
Sure, but do you remember what your life is doing in any given moment? Because no joke, there's definitely periods of time, because you crystallize your memory in your sleep. There are moments of time where Steph will mention like, oh, remember that time we did this thing? And I'm like, no, because I was there, I was present, I enjoyed it, but all I have are the videos to go off of because my brain didn't get enough sleep to crystallize the memories of that time in my life, which is crazy to think about. So it's nice to be present and also be able to remember the stuff that I'm doing right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I also see you constantly checking your watch, being very careful of the time, so forgive me if I'm rambling way too much.
You want me to forgive you? You know how
yes,
much,
clearly.
You know how much you've done for me? I mean,
I'm the guy who's like, I'm retired, I got all the time.
One of the questions I really wanted to ask is I want to know a bit more about your writing.
Yeah.
You know? I do creative work in a way.
Yeah.
And so I was just curious as to what your writing work was like, and especially because I knew, you know, I remember that video you made so many years ago talking about, you know, when you were recording in your closet and stuff like that. But I'm curious about the upscaling from that into the huge production team that you now have, and also especially now that you've sold your company. Like, I'm curious as to the process.
Yeah. So I mean, funny enough, it stayed very bare bones for a very long time. Really, once we started to kind of prepare for the idea of like, oh, we're gonna have a child, we're gonna have a family, that's when we really started to ramp things up because we knew, our time would have to go to our son rather than to like just work around the clock to get things done, right? So that idea of keeping a lean team that was efficient and really focused on us stayed much longer than I think people would have expected. In general, the early days of the writers' room it was really, me and Steph, Jason, maybe some of our freelancers coming in and pitching ideas. And we would discuss it briefly, but then it was like, okay, spend time to research that. We like this idea. This is a trending topic. Hey, I read this scientific article and that reminded me of this game. Let's dig into it. Let's research and see if there's actually a theory there. And so it was very independently driven. Mm-hmm. Then when it came time to kind of staff outward, writing theories is tricky because you have to find people who know how to write, obviously, but not just write, but also have to be experts in a bunch of different IP. We're not just like a Marvel channel. We covered deep lore of Marvel and of Five Nights at Freddy's and, food science and style, whatever. It was a broad spectrum of things that we covered. And on top of that, it's like, oh, you have to know science, you have to know math, you have to know all these things. And so we tried different variations. We tried, what if we hire out just specialists in individual fields? And now, hey, you're the Marvel guy. Hey, you're the indie video game guy. Hey, you're the AAA video game guy. And that worked to some degree, but it, because the knowledge set was limited, you couldn't get as kind of robust or 360 theories as we were looking for, right? And so we're like, well, then let's try generalists. People kind of like me or Steph who just love research and love digging into research and are comfortable digging into areas where they might not be comfortable in, but know how to do it in a way that feels complete and well-rounded. And those are very hard to find.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, right, it's really tricky.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love games, I don't have the time to.
Right. Well, it's also not your job, right? Like, it's
true.
different when you're dedicating your full time to researching a topic or being aware of an industry, right? And so that was also hard, right? And so what we ended up settling on was a hybrid model of both of those, where some people were subject matter experts, and we knew, hey, if we're touching on a topic, go to them, or if it was a cross-genre theory, have them talk to each other. And then some others were generalists who were like, hey, look into this theory, go this way. And so it was a mix, but we definitely went through about 2 to 3 iterations before we finally settled on a team.
That's thank you for your sorry. The next question I'm going to ask you is the one that I really wanted to ask.
Okay, this is the big one.
This truly is the big one.
I'm
especially because so as a bit of background, you retired in 2024. I think. Yes. Okay, cool. I just remember I was 17 years old at the time.
Okay, good.
And I remember immediately afterward writing a brief journal entry because I was really reflecting upon the work that you had done and especially the things that you said in your retirement video.
Yeah.
So you started game theory in 2009.
Yeah.
In the midst of in the aftermath of the great financial crisis.
Yeah.
And so through those tumultuous times, my question is, how did you keep going? And did you ever think you would have failed? Did you ever have doubts about how this was going to turn out, and how did you deal with those?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the crazy thing to think about, right, is back then, YouTube wasn't a thing. I wasn't planning on becoming MatPat YouTube game theory guy, right? Back then, my goal was to do theater. I had graduated from Duke University with a double major in theater and psychology, concentrating neuroscience. And it was one of those things where I thought I was going to do theater for the rest of my life. Acting, directing, performing. I did lighting design, I did set design. I just loved all elements of theater. And I went out and I was successful. I worked for the better part of 2 years consistently. And that is hard to do in theater. And what I learned was knowing that you were constantly going to be out of a job after that production ended, 2, 3, 4 months later, was the worst. That instability was something that was so difficult to live with. And it's not one of those things that you realize or think about when you're in college, right? Or when you're in any sort of school, right? School shows happen and you're like, I'm in the shows and that's fun. Or theater major, I'm learning theater, this is cool. But being out in the real world and experiencing the business side of what it means to pursue your passion or pursue a career is a vastly different thing. And so here I was having to grapple with this idea of the reality of what it meant to have a career in theater, and everything that I loved about theater, the creativity, the newness of it, the discovery of it, a lot of that doesn't exist when you're doing 8 shows a week and the pinnacle is Broadway and you have to be out within the 2-hour time limit, otherwise the chorus gets paid overtime and the producers can't afford that, right? And so I had to reassess what is now the direction of my life, because the rug had been pulled out from under me. This plan that I had been working towards since preschool went up in smoke. And I didn't know what to do, and I was kind of directionless for a while, and I tried everything. But what kept my head afloat, or kind of what kept me focused, was a belief in me. A belief in the fact that I had something interesting to offer, that I was different, that I was unique, and that I had skills. And the way that I busied myself during that period, while I was applying to jobs, was by pursuing a project, and that was game theory, right? A project that spoke to my passions, spoke to something that was interesting to me, and gave me an excuse to learn, and gave me an excuse to constantly grow and try new things. And I mean, if you look at the trajectory of great game theory, episode 1 is garbage. It's terrible, right? I mean, the audio normalization is bad. The editing is like a glorified slideshow, right? But I put it out there, and I learned, and I got better. And the next episode I got better, and the next episode I got better. And so while I was desperately looking for what my new career would be and what this new trajectory of my life would be, and to see who would give me a chance, because again, it was 2009. They were like, oh, you're just a weird theater kid. And I'm like, no, I directed projects, and I brought, I managed budgets, and I did all this stuff that was in the world of theater. And they're like, oh, well, it doesn't translate to our world. I was like, yeah, it does. But no one believed me, right? Because I had no proven experience. And so this project gave me the excuse to keep growing, keep learning, and not grow stale, and not become stagnant. And having something to fixate on, while the rest of the world kept telling me no, was what gave me that hope, and what gave me that opportunity to feel like I was still making forward momentum, even though on paper I wasn't. And so I think that those were the two: believing in myself and just knowing that it will happen, and not giving up, and still grinding away at it. Finding a job, is work. It is a grind to find a job.
Me.
Yeah.
I've applied to so many internships in the past month or so.
Yeah.
3 months? I don't know.
Yeah.
I lost track of time.
Yeah. Well, have you thought about what makes you unique? I think that's one of the big things, right? And I think that's one of the crucial things that people don't realize when they come out of college. I didn't realize it. Is what makes you different from everyone? Everyone has the same stuff on their resume. Everyone is great at X, Y, and Z, right? What is your story? What's your differentiator? And also, how do you craft your resume and your interviews to sell that story, right? It's not just, here's all my work history. Your resume is a narrative, telling a story about who you are and what your trajectory is. And I mean, if you looked at my resume when I first got out of college and was doing this sort of stuff, I mean, I had I did this theater work, and here's some lighting design that doesn't make sense, and here's some writing work that I did, and here's, a creative thing. And also, I worked with Red Cross briefly. It made no sense. There was no through line to it. But once I curated it down, and once I shaped it, and focused in on, hey, I want to be a creative digital storyteller, and was able to kind of refine the jobs, and maybe leave a gap or two here, but tell a through line through it, then all of a sudden companies were like, hey, I understand what you're going for now. And that made all the difference. So those are the handful of things.
You ever think about starting a channel called Job Theory?
I think I sold the whole theory brand at this point.
Enough,
so Job Hypothesis, though, really rolls off the tongue.
Of course.
Let me tell you,
It sounds like a sequel to an Ali Hazelwood book.
Yeah, but no, it is one of those things that, as Steph and I have looked at, what are things that we want to do in retirement. We have a lot of stuff going, but one of the things that we've talked about is, does it make sense, or do we want a sort of Matt Chat style channel where we get to talk about stuff like that?
There is one other thing that I wanted to ask. In about 8 days is Valentine's Day?
Yes.
And your relationship with Stephanie is publicly one of the most wholesome ones I've seen.
Thanks.
I like watching rom-coms.
Yeah.
But rom-coms are not real.
Yeah.
And so, you know, to see you with Stephanie on GT Live and all that stuff, it's really heartwarming.
Yeah, thank you.
So, you have any advice for our lonely UMD students?
Well, I guess the question would be, is your goal to no longer be single, or is it to revel in your singledom? Because
that's a good question.
Because here's the thing, once you get into a committed partnership, you know, it's great. You know, hopefully you have found your best friend, but also your time and how you allocate your time changes, right? So right now, enjoy being single, enjoy being free of the ball and chain on the leg of life, right? But at a certain point, when you do find someone, or when you're looking for someone, I think it is being present in the moment, right? And really listening. You know, I think right now in this day and age, we always got the distractions in our pockets, right? It's always there, it's always on the phone, it's always on the table next to us. And so taking that away and actually engaging in conversation makes all the difference in the world. And showing that, hey, I'm not getting distracted by this notification, or hey, I'm not just sitting at dinner scrolling on my phone and we're just parallel scrolling together. That's the worst. Like, engage with someone, learn from them, experience things together. And then the other side of it is handmade crafts are great. They're a winner.
Good to know. We'll keep in mind.
Yeah, I don't know how crafty you are. Do you do much paper mache these days?
I was at an event of sorts yesterday, and they gave us a handout. I made a paper plane, but that's about all I've got.
That's a good start. That's a good start. Paper plane, you know, that's great. It's like a couple steps away from origami. You could do like a little origami crate or something. But yeah, no, I think in a world where everything is immediate and physical, or everything is immediate and digital, having something that took time to craft and is a physical, real-world object is game-changing.
Did you hear? I'm pretty sure the Nordic people did something like that back in the day. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there's an old tradition, you know, that the husband or the betrothed, before they got married, they would carve out like an intricate wooden trinket spoon, something like that.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is that if your man has the time to craft something like this, he doesn't have the time to see other women. So
there you go. Yeah, right. No, it's true, and yeah, it is. It's one of those things where one of the very first things that I did for Steph on our first Valentine's Day was I had made her this quad. I'm a guy of extremes. Don't do this. This is too much, but scale it down a bit. I had made a quad-sized banner that literally, like, she wakes up on Valentine's Day, I'm like, hey, look out your window, and outside it says, I heart Stephanie, literally the size of the quad outside of her window. She was on the 4th floor, and the whole quad was sprinkled with hearts. So even though rom-coms don't exist out in the real world, it doesn't mean that you can't take some pages out of a rom-com and scale them down a little bit, and you know, it's nice.
I'm being told that time's really up, so thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of course, not a problem.
Thank you so much
No,
for
my
your time.
pleasure.
This is Ray Vonik, I'm with the hair, and this is Matthew Patrick. Need I say more?
The hair?
That's us.
But hey, that's just the hair.
A hair theory.
Thanks for watching.